In this video, I'll be ranking all 23 MCU movies. I'll be ranking the whole Infinity Saga that started from Iron Man in 2008 all the way to Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019. But before we get started, if this is the first time that you're watching one of my videos, I'm Rafa and I am a huge movie fan. So if you're a fan just like me, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that way we can all be fans together. So let's get started. I'll be ranking the MCU movies from the worst to the best. With that being said, I would love to know your ranking of the MCU movies down below. And I just wanted to say that this list is not the correct list. It's just my personal favorite of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that I enjoyed the most. Okay, so number 23, The Incredible Hulk. This is my least MCU movie because this to me doesn't even feel like the MCU. It doesn't even have the same actor. I didn't really connect with the story and the movie seemed pretty forgettable for me. Number 22, Iron Man 2. For being the head of the MCU in many ways, Iron Man I feel like has had the worst trilogy in the MCU. I honestly don't even remember this movie at all, except that it had this very forgettable villain, Whiplash. Was his name even Whiplash? Number 21, Thor: The Dark World. This movie is pretty much disliked by most Marvel fans, calling it the worst in the Thor trilogy. I felt that at the time they were trying to figure out the tone for the Thor character, giving him this Game of Thrones vibes that I feel didn't really work with Thor. I do gotta say that I did appreciate the whole Dark Elf storylines with Malekith, but unfortunately the Dark Elves weren't done any justice. Number 20, Iron Man 3. I remember watching this movie on the big screen, and even though I love Christmas movies, I really disliked the idea of a Christmas movie during the summer season. And the whole villain fake out with the Mandarin didn't really do the movies any favor. And yes, Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie. Number 19, Captain America: The First Avenger. With this movie, I did not get a chance to see it in theaters, so I remember one night I was watching it at home and I fell asleep. I am not the type to fall asleep in movies, but this movie felt so slow and boring and I didn't even finish watching the movie. I don't remember. Maybe I did, and the only thing that I do remember is the post-credit scene when Cap wakes up in the future and he's in Times Square. That to me was the most interesting moment in the whole film. Number 18, Iron Man. The original Iron Man movie that started the whole MCU journey with this film in 2008 was, I think, a good solid introduction to the franchise. It had some cool moments in it, but at the same time, I'm really not a fan of one of those, where you have two versions of the same character fighting each other, and I'm just not the biggest fan of that. Number 17, Thor. Believe it or not, you guys, this was the very first MCU movie that I got to see in theaters, and I gotta say, the original Thor is a very underrated movie in my opinion. When he's like another, the movie just had some great moments like that, and I loved how the director Kenneth Branagh was able to bring Asgard to life and introduced us to the whole mythology of Thor. Number 16 is Captain Marvel. Now, as the first female-led superhero film in the MCU, Captain Marvel was a little bit disappointing. It did have some cool moments with all the 90s references, Goose the Cat, and Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, but overall, I felt that Carol Danvers was a little bit stale, a little bit too serious, and I really felt like I couldn't connect with her as a character. I did, however, loved her badass action sequences in space. Those were pretty cool. Number 15 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. The first Spider-Man MCU movie was Spider-Man: Homecoming, and it felt great having Spidey back in the MCU and having Marvel take control of the character. I think the movie suffered a little bit for being so centered around Tony Stark and Peter wanting to be like Tony, when I think they should just let Spider-Man be his own hero. I also really liked Michael Keaton as the Vulture, and I love that twist that he's actually his crush's dad. Number 14, Ant-Man. The movie Ant-Man for me is when I first started noticing that things were changing in the MCU. This was pretty much a heist film, and I felt that this is when the MCU really started incorporating genres into their movies. I loved Ant-Man's powers and how this movie is able to portray them, and they gave us an amazing post-credit scene with the Wasp's costume being revealed. Number 13, Spider-Man: Far From Home. This movie for me was such a level up from the first Spider-Man movie. movie. The movie had such a bigger scope and feel to it. I loved seeing Peter Parker and his friends on their Europe vacation, and Mysterio was such a great villain. That Mysterio sequence was just so awesome, and how they used that character was such a clever way to bring this Spider-Man iconic villain to the big screen. Number 12, Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie is a lot of fun. It introduced us to a whole new team of heroes, and it brought us the cute Rocky Raccoon. I think he's so cute. I love the whole dynamic of the Guardians, and the movie had a big scope to it, which I appreciated. And it also gave us our first look at Thanos speaking, which was so intimidating. I really felt that this was a big threat that was going to be huge. But I also want to mention that Guardians of the Galaxy sets up Gamora as the fiercest warrior in the galaxy, but we've yet to see that in any of the movies. Number 11, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now this movie, I know for a lot of people, we're left wanting more from this movie, since this was the first time that a female character was put in the title of any of the Marvel movies, but I just thoroughly enjoyed this film. I was so happy with the introduction of Hope Van Dyne as the Wasp, and I just had a lot of fun with Ant-Man and the Wasp. They also introduced us to Janet Van Dyne, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and I can't wait to see more of their adventures in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Number 10, Thor Ragnarok. With Thor Ragnarok, I feel like they finally got the Thor character right. I feel like they got the tone and feel of the character, and it was awesome seeing the evolution of Thor as a character. A lot of people thought this movie was a little bit too lighthearted, but Thor went through so much in this movie. He lost his best friend, he lost his dad, he lost an eye, and he lost his home, Asgard. So I definitely think that this is a good movie. And also Kate Blanchett as Hela. Hell yeah! I kind of want them to bring her back. She was so cool. Number 9, Black Panther. Now this movie was monumental. It was the first superhero movie with an all-black cast, and the movie was a total hit. I really loved exploring the whole world building of Wakanda, and it introduced us to many female empowerment characters, and I can't wait to continue to explore the world of Wakanda in Black Panther 2. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This movie, I know that a lot of people prefer the original, but I really quite enjoyed the second movie. We got the introduction of Mantis, we got to see Ego the Living Planet in live action, and it was just such an emotional movie too, especially with what they did with the character of Yondu. And I was really amazed seeing that cool circle shot that is usually like an Avengers type of shot, but I loved seeing the Guardians have that famous circle shot moment. Number 7, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This movie was really groundbreaking for the MCU. We got like a political thriller type movie, and I loved it. I loved the introduction of Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. The action sequences in this movie are pretty phenomenal, and I especially think that the character of Black Widow was perfectly used in this film. The Russo brothers did such a fantastic job in this movie. Number 6 is Doctor Strange. Now this movie has a very special place in my heart because I actually saw this movie with my best friend together over here in Hollywood. She came all the way from Cancun to see this movie with me, and we were so shocked to see the introduction of a magic-based superhero being now in the MCU, and the way they handled the origin of Stephen Strange, it was great. I loved exploring the world with lots of different cool places and cool magic artifacts, and I cannot wait to see Doctor Strange team up or fight against the Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Number 5 is Captain America: Civil War. Now this movie was huge for me. It was so fun getting to decide on what team you were on, whether that was Team Cap or Team Iron Man. I was Team Cap because of course Scarlet Witch was on that team, and this movie felt so grounded in reality, which I appreciated after the massive Avengers movies. So this movie felt a little bit more realistic. This movie felt pretty much like an Avengers movie. Every character got to shine in this movie, and that airport action sequence is one of the coolest fight scenes in the MCU in my opinion. Number 4 is Avengers Age of Ultron. Now this movie of the Avengers franchise is my least favorite of all the Avengers, but I still appreciate this movie so much. Not only does it have an amazing third act sequence in in my opinion, with the whole Battle of Sokovia, but it introduces us to two new amazing characters with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Me and my best friend fell in love with this character so much, and we are so excited that after all these years, Scarlet Witch is getting the recognition she deserves in WandaVision. Number 3 is The Avengers. This movie is what basically started it all. I remember watching this movie in theaters, and I was just amazed at what this movie was able to accomplish. It brought us Earth's mightiest heroes to the big screen in a way that we never thought we could see them before. The team dynamics were founded with this movie, and can we please talk about that Battle of New York? I love that third act battle sequence so much, and that circle shot, oh my god, that moment will forever give me chills. Number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. Again, my best friend flew all the way from Cancun, Mexico to LA just to see this massive crossover event that was Infinity War, and the wait that we had for this movie for over 4 years long was definitely worth it. We were in pure shock about what this movie was able to accomplish, have all these storylines, and give every single MCU character that was in that movie their moment to shine. We were in awe that Thanos was able to snap his fingers and disappear half of humanity, and we were of course devastated that our fave Scarlet Witch didn't make the cut. And of course, in the number 1 spot for me is Avengers Endgame. My best friend, of course, had to come to Los Angeles once again to experience the culmination of the entire MCU together with me. We saw this movie in the biggest IMAX screen in America, in IMAX 3D. And what can I say? This movie lived up to the hype and expectation that me and my best friend had for this film. And I will never forget watching the third act of Endgame with the portals and watching all of these characters that we know and love make an appearance and get ready to prepare and just fight Thanos. It was just how I imagined it. It closed so many doors, but at the same time it opened some brand new ones, and we are so excited to see the Marvel Cinematic Universe continue with Phase 4 and beyond. So that was my ranking for all of the MCU movies from best to worst. I would love to know yours down below. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate the thumbs up. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm Rafa, your Latin friend over here from Hollywood, California, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.